recorded. Well, welcome everyone. We're excited you're here to join us for the last of 6 listening sessions on the region's food system that will help inform the 2021 Food System Action Plan. Thank you to those who have stuck around with us the past 2 weeks for these 6 sessions. We really appreciate it. This meeting will be recorded and we'll follow it up with an email that includes resources, a link to all the recordings, materials that you've seen here, and ways to stay engaged in this effort. I'd like to thank the Sacramento Region Community Foundation for the support that has enabled us to host these sessions and update the 2015 Food System Action Plan. I see Linda Cutler on the call. Would you like to say anything, Linda, before introductions?
No, just, thank you to Valley Vision. It's been a great partnership and these learning sessions have been amazing. And I know will really help inform the update of the plan. So we're honored to be part of this project. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to introductions here. We'd like you to share your name, organization, and what project or activity that you're working on as it relates to the food economy. So first, I will start out with June. Livingston, looks like you have yourself unmuted. Are you able to hear us, June? Okay, we can come back. Amy Garfinkel.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy. I work with the California Department of Food and Agriculture Office of Farm to Fork, and I'm part of the Farm to School team. So we have a Farm to School pilot grant program, and we're trying to reinvigorate the California Farm to School network. And 2 of my colleagues are on the call too, so they can share more. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Brenda Ruiz.
Good afternoon, Brenda Ruiz with the Sacramento Food Policy Council. We're working on policies at the county level to promote environmental justice initiatives, including investment in historically underserved communities or disinvested communities. And yes, thank you.
Thank you. Cathy Food.
Hi, everyone. Cathy Food with the Sacramento Region Community Foundation. The Food System Action Plan is part of our strategic initiative that we are working to help guide us in terms of our strategic initiative for the upcoming, or for the future.
Thank you, Cathy. Dianna Flores.
Good afternoon, Dianna Flores. I'm the Director of Nutrition Services here at Sacramento City Unified. I think our biggest initiative right now is our central kitchen. You can see the picture behind me. We just opened a 50,000 square foot central kitchen to serve all our 80 schools. Part of the discussion today will be around direct procurement for our school meal program and our distribution center that started in 2008. And what we've done with that since. Our Farm to Fork program and our new mobile food truck that will launch at the Farm to Fork event. And then our partnerships with Food Literacy Center and the Sacramento Food Bank.
Great, thank you. Jacob Sachs.
Hi there, I'm Jacob with Alchemist CDC, and we do a couple different projects related to food, but the one I primarily work on is the Alchemist Kitchen program, which empowers and helps food entrepreneurs start and grow their food businesses. So excited to be here.
Thank you. Jamie Cutloop.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jamie Cutloop, wearing 2 hats today as a government affairs rep for SMUD, regional efforts, and then secondly, as a board member for Alchemist CDC.
Thank you. Jennifer Durin.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer. I work with the Health Education Council. I assist with our food distribution program. So what we do is we provide nutritious meals and produce to families in need and other different kinds of resources. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. In June, are you able to hear us and unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm on the phone now, so I can hear you. My name is June Livingston. I supervise the Business Environmental Resource Center for the County of Sacramento, which falls under economic development. And what BERT does is provide free and confidential regulatory and permit compliance assistance to people who are in business, people who want to start businesses or have permit questions. A good part of the work that we do involves retail food, restaurants, markets, businesses of that sort.
Thank you. And Kareem? Well, looks like might be connecting to audio. We can come back to you. Michael? Michael Ackley? All right, how about Mike Schremer?
Hi, this is Mike Schroeder. I'm with California Capital. I just joined in. Happy to be here. Thanks.
Thanks, Nick. Nick Acich?
Hi, you guys. My two toddlers literally just ran in the room when you said my name, so we'll see how this goes. I work with CDFA, like Amy said, and I put a link in the chat to our website. So check that out. I'm excited to hear more today.
Thank you. And next we have, Renee Dooley.
Hi there, Renee Dooley from Sacramento Area Council of Governments. We're a land use transportation planning agency. I run what's called the Rural Urban Connections Strategy Program. And I'm here because we're running a partner project related to this called the Coordinate Rural Opportunities Plan. So Grace and Trish are helping us out with that.
Thank you. Sam Greenlee?
Thanks, Grace. Yep, I'm Sam. I'm the third person here from Alchemist CDC. Jacob already mentioned our Alchemist Kitchen program, which works to train, equip, empower food entrepreneurs. I'll also mention we have a project in the works called Alchemist Public Market. I'll put a link in the chat, but this is a major project we're working on that is really all around the value-added food industry, empowering the food entrepreneurs, providing production space, market access, retail space, bringing in workforce development. So it touches on this topic in multiple capacities, and like I said, I'll put that in the chat. Thank you.
Sam. Santana Diaz?
Hello, everyone. Santana Diaz, Executive Chef, UC Davis Health. Just trying to create a community farm to fork program here on an institutional scale for our patient care program.
Thank you. And Sarah is not able to unmute herself, but she put her title and organization there. She's with Rayleigh's in the Community Relations Department. Next, moving on to Sue Yi.
Hi, I'm Sue Yi, and I'm with California Capital Financial Development Corporation. I work for Mike. In my small business counseling work, we work with a lot of entrepreneurs that are interested in starting their own food-based business. So I'm here to learn as well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thomas Nelson.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I work with Kitchen Table Advisors. We provide business advising support to next generation farmers, primarily women-owned and co-owned businesses and farmers of color. We work from Salinas to Sacramento over to Sonoma. And then I guess one particular project that we're working on with a number of partners to try and bring into being is a Yolo food hub that would focus on processing farm products to connect to institutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Trisha Funk.
Hello, I'm Trisha Funk. I'm the director of the Women's Business Center at Jedi. So we're Northern California is the territory that we serve up to Sacramento, basically. But we've been involved in an initiative and the last couple of years in the Local Foods, Local Places initiative, and have been working to develop further programming and services that really focus on our food, our ag producers, our food related makers and manufacturers, and our local food economy. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kareem, are you able to unmute? Looks like there's a couple of Kareems in here. All right, we can come back. I do see that there's a 916 number. That might be Sarah who is calling in. But if not, if you're able to unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Is that the 916-216-5530?
It's a 916-254-1581.
Okay.
Hello, this is Kareem. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm having technical difficulties. However, I'm from Sacramento County Obesity Prevention Program. My name is Kareem Tucker-Mays. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Kareem. And I'm going to go to Michael Ackley. Are you able to unmute?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, my name's Michael Ackley-Grady. I'm from the California Department of Food and Agriculture, Office of Farm to Fork, and I'm the Farm to School Marketplace Lead.
Great. Renee John.
Hi, everyone. I'm with Valley Vision, and I work in the workforce development impact area, so interested in food and ag and how it connects with workforce development.
And Linda, I know that we already gave you a shout out before, but would you like to say anything?
Just the name is Linda Cutler. I'm the CEO of the Sacramento Region Community Foundation, and obviously our project here is the action plan. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And did I miss anyone before I go to the famous Trish Kelly?
Well, I guess I'm famous because Grace said I'm famous, but I'm Trish, Managing Director at Valley Vision, and really grateful to have all of you here today. We're excited for the conversation. This, as Grace mentioned, is six listening sessions we've done over the last 2 weeks. I counted up this morning. So far, 165 people have participated in the discussions. And then we've been doing a lot of other outreach, and we'll tell you about our process, but we're just happy to have you all here today. And I want to make one comment about the food economy piece of this, because it's all of us together to move this food system forward. And a lot of discussion has happened around health and equity in the food system and the food insecurity and nutrition insecurity that exists. So one question to think about is how we can use our food system to create jobs for people, living wage jobs, skills, pathways, and new businesses that can bring wealth to our community in all kinds of ways, that our food system can be a pathway to help lift residents so that we can try to address this critical hunger and food security issue. So with that, I'll turn it back to Grace. Thank you.
Thank you. And there were a couple of folks who joined us in between there. Kate Still, are you able to unmute and introduce yourself and what you're working on?
Yes, my name is Kate Still, and I'm with Nugget Market. I'm also on the Yolo Food Bank Board, and I'm also chair of the Sacramento Region Community Foundation. So my involvement with the food economy is actually in a number of different levels based on, my involvement with those 3 organizations. So thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kate. And Thomas Lucero, are you able to unmute?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Tom Lucero. I'm from Sac City Unified School District. I'm the central kitchen manager of a brand new kitchen we just opened up. So I'm just here to kind of sit in and see what this is all about. I think my director is also on here.
Thank you. And Michael Bish.
I apologize for joining late. My name is Michael Bish. I'm Executive Director of Yolo Food Bank. As far as a project related to the food economy, I'm working closely and collaboratively with a number of other organizations on launching a regional food hub in Yolo County. And it's a pretty exciting project, and hopefully there'll be some discussion around that today.
Great. Thank you. And so we're moving on to our MENTometer exercise. For those of you who have been here with us, this is not the first time that you have used it. So if you're able to click that in the chat, it'll take you to our survey, and that'll be our way of engaging you all during this session. The responses are anonymous, and with the exception for this question, you can submit multiple responses. If you're on the phone, you can go to menti.com and enter in the code 80683521. Again, that's 80683521. And you can log into this from your phone, tablet, computer, whatever is easiest for you. And I will share the results so we can all see. All right, looks like we have a lot of CBOs here in the room. And like I mentioned before, this is going to be the service that we use to receive feedback and comments. We'll obviously take whatever you have to say verbally too. This meeting is being recorded. And after Trisha's presentation, we'll come back to this platform, but this is just our first kind of introduction. The link will remain the same as well. And for those of you who just joined, again, the link is in the chat. All right, I'll keep this open, but I'll stop sharing so that Trish can begin her presentation.
Thank you very much, Grace. So as the start of our discussion today, we wanted to give a little bit of background on the purpose of the Food System Action Plan update, what we're doing, and some kind of level setting around some of the metrics of the food system. So you have all heard about this, where what we're doing is an update of the 2015 action plan. At that time, with the Community Foundation, with the findings of that report, that they made some significant investments into the emergency food system that really helped improve the efficiency and helped reach the goal of reaching more people who were experiencing food insecurity, but also making the system more able to handle greater levels of food, including fresh produce. So really working on improving the health of the food system. So obviously a lot has changed over time, a lot of good things. We've built more capacity in the nonprofit sector and tried to elevate the importance of the food and ag sector, but the pandemic has just really, as we know, uprooted and just caused lots of disruption and created more conditions of food insecurity and food challenges for the whole food system. And we'll talk about those in a little bit. But what we wanted to do now, it's very important timing to update this plan and really be very focused around what are the challenges that we want to address and some very specific priorities, leveraging new opportunities that are coming, really create a platform that sets forth clearly what an investment strategy can be to create a sustainable, healthy, health-promoting, equitable food system, and one that's also prosperous for all residents and people in the community. So we are working on a series of interconnected approaches. We're doing a lot of research to update some key metrics so that we're able to tell the story of the food system. We have been doing these 6 set of listening sessions. So as of today, we have almost 200 people that have been involved in those discussions. We're doing outreach with stakeholders. We're consulting with subject matter experts and partners, especially at the state and federal level, who have funding sources, and some of our partners are on the call today, and they've been with us through these meetings. And then we're going to be synthesizing everything over the next month and a half and presenting a draft action plan to the Community Foundation in September. At the same time, we are working on a food system resilience poll in partnership with Sac State. And we've been doing polling for the last few years. It's a statistically validated survey, and it'll give us a qualitative information about perceptions of the food system. And this is the first time Valley Vision has been able to really explicitly tie a poll with one of our strategic planning efforts. So we're really excited to see that process. And I want to note that Evan Schmidt, our CEO, just joined us, and she's leading the polling project. Evan, would you like to say hello and any comments?
Yeah, thanks, Trish. Hi, everybody. It's great to see you all, and thank you so much for participating in today's session. I'm really excited about all the conversations that have been going on around the food system in these sessions. Your feedback and your participation is really important. I also want to thank the Sacramento Region Community Foundation for their leadership, their support, and partnership in this work. And I'm just really excited that we're able to bring about some new research and bring you all together to really think about the resilience and sustainability of our food system. So thanks, Trish.
Thank you, Evan. Glad you could make it today. So next slide, please, Grace. So we wanted to just also note that we're not working in a vacuum. We're coordinating with other local and regional planning efforts. And one of our goals is to not only make sure that we're all aligning and trying to find a common voice and speak together to strengthen the strategies that are coming out, but we also, in our role as a generating actionable research, hope to provide research and information that is of value to our partners as well, to use in a lot of ways, not only planning, but maybe preparing for proposals, or again, telling your story with some good metrics behind it. So Brenda already mentioned the work that the Food Policy Council is doing. That's really important, alignment with the Sacramento County Food Policy Assessment and the environmental justice element. That's a little bit on a longer time frame, but really great nexus, especially with the policy expertise of the council. And then we are collaborating with the Building Healthy Communities and the Healthy Food for All Collaborative. This is coming to the conclusion of the 10-year investment by the California Endowment in the community, especially in the South Sacramento area. Valley Vision's been a partner in that for the regional connections and working with Sac City Unified on school wellness policies. But what's happening with the Healthy Food for All Collaborative, led by Sean Harrison from Soil Born Farm, is that they are looking at the lessons learned and what are the outcomes and what capacity has been built and how do we build on all this investment and the great work that's happened and where do we go next. So both the Food Policy Council and the Healthy Food for All Collaborative are looking at financing mechanisms too. Financing an investment in the food system is an ongoing need, and we're trying to really come up with some great strategies for that. So appreciate the partnership there too. As Renee Oki mentioned, we're also collaborating with SACOG. They have a Sustainable Ag Lands Conservation Grant from the Department of Conservation at the state.
What's that?
And that's, they are really looking to identify and understand the infrastructure that we need to keep ag viable and sustainable, and dealing a lot, of course, with market changes, regulatory changes, and the climate imperative. So there's a exciting new evolution of the Rural Urban Connection strategy with the Coordinated Rural Opportunities Program. So we're happy to be working with SACOG on that, and really looking forward to what we learn to strengthen our rural communities. And then parallel to that, Yolo County also has a local Sustainable Ag Lands grant. We're working with other partners. The Delta Protection Commission mentioned that they are doing planning in the Delta region, looking at the sustainability and viability of ag. Then Valley Vision is a partner along with the Sac Metro Chamber, SACOG, and Greater Sacramento Economic Council Our prosperity strategy really focuses on food and ag as one of the core competitive advantage clusters, lots of opportunities to generate funding support, as including through federal agencies, and we have a federal designation. And there is a lot of funding coming, so we want to be able to position our initiatives in that regard. And so the strategy has a lot of things that we're going to be discussing today around institutional procurement, innovation spaces, incubators, food hubs, kind of the infrastructure we need to support our regional economy and get more food to markets. So we're eager to learn about any other planning initiatives, but just wanted to give you that context as well. Next slide, please, Grace.
I did want to take a moment to acknowledge Linda Merksmer, who just came on.
Oh, great.
Linda, are you able to unmute and introduce yourself? All right, we might have to wait a little minute for that.
Okay, thanks,
Right.
Grace. Okay, next slide, please. So today just to recap, over the last 6 sessions, we've covered a lot of topics. They're very interrelated, but we've looked at the workforce needs in the sector, the viability for agriculture, environmental sustainability across the whole food system. We've looked at food and nutrition and issues, food security, health, the health of the community, and education and learning around all aspects of the food system. And so today we're really focusing on the aspect that considers our local market development, opportunities to keep more resources in our community through purchasing, say through schools, hospitals, other entities like the Sacramento Kings that can really drive a lot of capabilities to support our farmers and our food distributors. So it's a dual of supporting the economic side, but getting healthy food into our communities. And really want to look at some of those local purchasing policies. And then the physical infrastructure that we need to be able to gather, aggregate, and get food to market from farms include things like food hubs, food incubators, the school central kitchen. We also are looking at incubators such as what Alchemist is doing to kind of help the next generation of food producers become viable businesses. And then there are other aspects to our food system that are more business related, such as the vast agro-tourism assets that we have in the region. And really supporting strategies from an economic development side for new food products, kind of foods of the future. It's a big aspect that's going on is how you create more health functionality in foods, and that's a market niche for us. And then linking that with agri-tech food innovation, which really can help leverage the innovations that are coming out of UC Davis and our food and science entrepreneurs. And yesterday, we had a colleague from UC Davis Health talking about some of the things Santana will mention today, predictive nutrition and personalized medicine, that really where food is a healing and contributes to the health of the community. Next slide, please, Grace. So just quickly, here's some of the aspects, the food facts about our food system. It's a big cluster. It includes farming, ranching, and forestry, food processing, packaging and distribution, and a range of support services. So it's a major regional economic driver, and it's founded on the fact that we are in one of only 5 Mediterranean growing climates in the world. So we have great assets of soil, we've had water, we have great intellectual capital with our farmers, and we have the UC Davis and our other food system ecosystem. We have 1.5 million acres in farmlands and working landscapes, which is a very high percentage of land in our region. We have about 6,600 farms, which we're holding steady, unlike other areas. We haven't lost too many farms, but we do want to be vigilant because farmland conversion pressures are always out there. And this is the foundation of a robust economy. It's $2 billion in farm gate value coming off the farm in terms of crops, but it generates more than $12 billion in overall economic impact, carries more than 55,000 jobs. And these do not include jobs in the retail, hospitality, tourism sector, aspects like nutrition services that Dianna mentioned, the education side. So it's really a much bigger footprint than even the basic numbers show. Next slide, please, Grace. So some of our challenges relate to workforce development. The average age of a farmer is 57 years old. The 37% of our producers are newer beginning farmers, but their average age is 46 years old. So it's a hard industry. There's a long lead time to gain skills to be viable. The average age of a highly skilled manufacturing worker is 56 years. So that's a lot of the food producing and equipment. You can't farm if you don't have farmers. So that's really a critical aspect for us. Farming looks quite different across our counties. A lot of the farms in El Dorado and Placer County, for instance, are smaller compared to Yolo and some of Sacramento and our north counties. 83% of our farms, for instance, in Sacramento County, lack internet access, and that's a critical infrastructure for our community, not just for business connectivity, but also so growers can adopt ag technologies that can make agriculture more efficient and sustainable, such as reducing water and energy use. And it's an equity issue for our rural communities. And as the Rural Urban Connection Strategy shows, our urban and rural areas are interdependent. So this is a big area of focus for us at Valley Vision. And it consistently comes up in our interviews with businesses and employers, because you can't also have your workers doing ag tech in a processing facility or a farm field without this critical technology. Next slide, please, Grace. So we have great abundance in our food system. This is our ongoing challenge, and yet we have huge levels of food insecurity and hunger, and asking ourselves the question of how can we narrow the gap and resolve these inequities. Even pre-COVID, food insecurity was high in the region, higher than state and national averages. 1 in 6 children were food insecure, and now it's 1 in 5 because of the pandemic. There's also an increasing emphasis on nutrition security, because you may have access to food, but it might not be that healthy. So the food banks and others especially are really, the schools, hospitals are focusing on the health promoting food system. Just in terms of a pivot and a huge demand and strain on the system, the pandemic brought thousands of new people into the system in need of food. Huge increases in the millions of pounds of food distributed meals, people served by the emergency food system, and the physical infrastructure needed to handle that, especially at a time when a lot of the labor force was lost, because a lot of the food banks are supported by volunteer work, and a lot of distribution sites also closed. So a lot of pivoting and some really great new partnerships, but real challenges for that system. One of the things that we've been looking at is the enrollment of eligible participants in CalFresh, and we've made progress since 2015. But basically, if everybody were enrolled who was eligible, we'd bring more than $150 million into our community, which would support farmers and food distributors, but also get food to people in need. And we learned that the number is low in Yolo County because UC Davis students are not able to enroll in some of the programs. So we're going to be doing some follow-up working to address higher education food insecurity, which we're really grateful for. And then another big fact, not just here, but all over, 40% of food is wasted somewhere along the food chain. So there's a lot of focus on food recovery. It's increasing, and there's state legislation mandating those approaches. And the Yolo Food Bank's been a real leader in that. So we'll hear about that a little bit today too. But you need physical capacity to be able to handle this new food. Another opportunity for us is institutional procurement. When school districts, for instance, purchase local produce, it generates almost double the amount in economic activity. So there are a lot of compelling reasons to focus on making that more of a organized approach in the region. So we're really happy today to have so many partners from California Department of Food and Ag to talk about that, as well as Sac City Unified. So undergirding all of this is huge environmental challenges we're all facing, and it's a huge impact on our environment and the health of people and our capabilities in our food system. And so drawing out a lot of questions about what's going to happen to keep farming and ag viable. And as somebody said last week, half of the world is burning and half the world is flooding. So we need to be prepared. And what do we need to do to make a healthy, sustainable food system? So those are the challenges that we're facing. So we do want to look at our challenges and opportunities so that we have as a very focused strategy to address where we can move the needle. So the challenges for the food economy include a persistent lack of funding for food system infrastructure projects. It costs money to invest in physical capability and having physical assets, as well as the feasibility studies. So that will enable us to put in place what we need to do to get food to market. We also have inconsistent institutional procurement policies and practices. It's not adopted uniformly across the region, so there are also opportunities there to improve that. And then support just for financing food economy enterprises. From the opportunity standpoint, we really have strong and innovative partnerships, and they've been very manifest in the pandemic, and you'll hear about that today. We have a lot of exciting potential food system projects in the pipeline. You've heard about a few of those mentioned already. We have a lot of new funding coming in from state and federal resources, and this is new for us. So we want to be ready, we want to be organized, and then we just want to highlight, we haven't talked about it that much, but the great benefit that agritourism brings to the community, not only as an economic source, but it's part of our quality of life. And in the pandemic, we're no more important than ever to be outside and to know where our food comes from and to support our local growers and businesses. So it is another aspect of the food economy. So for all of you who have listened to this presentation for 5 or 6 times, I thank you for your patience, and we're looking forward to the discussion now. I'll turn it over to Grace.
All right, thank you. We are moving on to the audience engagement and discussion part. I put the Menti link in the chat for those folks who just joined or may have lost it, and I will stop share to start up that presentation. And for those of you who are on the link, oh, sorry, did you have a comment, Evan? Oh, so for those of you who are on the link, you should see that it has changed slides at the top if you're on your phone or on your computer. So the question that we have here is, in the region, what are the biggest challenges facing the development of an inclusive, resilient, and prosperous food economy? And as a reminder, you can submit as many submissions as you want, and they are all anonymous. If anyone would like to verbally share any challenges that they feel like our region faces in this regard, please either raise your hand or unmute. All right, we're seeing land access come up. That's definitely been a theme that we've seen in these sessions. Access to capital, infrastructure for food development, contractual obligations, climate. Regulatory hurdles, food hubs with volume capacity, access to established markets for new food businesses.
And this is to notice, this is one of the benefits of food hubs, because it can help work backwards with farmers and help them get organized and help aggregate food so that they can get those market connections. I think we have several partners on the phone, on the webinar too, that are really geared to helping provide business support services to under-resourced smaller businesses and entrepreneurs. So really want to hear from you about how we can support you as well, because you're a critical part of that human capital infrastructure. Pricing is another challenge for sure.
Yes, Sam, please do.
So we spoke about this a little bit in our introduction, but we have our Alchemist Kitchen program going because we've seen food entrepreneurs, especially those who are from low income and under-resourced community background, really lack access to a lot of the tools they need in order to start a business. People underestimate how expensive it is and how resource intensive it is to start a new business, especially in the food space where there's so much regulation, and as there should be, around safety. But there's a real need for access to funding. For startup capital, there's a need to access the spaces where they can produce their product. They have barriers ahead of them to market access because, of course, food safety restrictions can make it difficult to get through the hoops to get on retail shelves. So we see a lot of those issues, and we're trying to tackle those. We know other organizations are as well, but all this together really make something pretty difficult unless we can manage to bring resources together and funnel them directly to the people who need them.
Sam, too, just in the work that you've been doing with the training with your incubator program, what kind of bubbles up the most in the work that you see, and how many of the businesses or the potential businesses have been actually able to get started?
That's a great question. Jacob might want to jump in there too, if he's still on here. He works more directly with the businesses, but I know in the 2 years we've been operating, we now have 15 businesses in our incubator who are either in operation right now or they're on their way to operation, finishing up permits and that sort of work. So yeah, people can do it. They can make the leap, and it's a huge leap from dreaming about starting a food business to better their family's future to actually implementing it. But yeah, it takes a network.
Yeah, I'll chime in and add on to that. Just ditto to what Sam said, but also there's quite a few folks that are doing it kind of in the informal economy, because doing it legally or in a fully permitted manner is very cumbersome. So finding kind of ways that we can make it easier for small food producers, small food businesses to start off and kind of gain assets, gain resources, and then grow, and maybe the permits grow with them. I think that would be an ideal thing that is currently missing.
Great, thanks, Jacob. And in addition to these comments here, we encourage you to please be in touch with us if you have more background information, specific regulations, or just things you want us to highlight. We're actually going to be sending out a survey too with these questions to try to get as specific as we can. But so we want to support the food entrepreneurs, but also you as organizations serving them. So okay, maybe we're ready for the next question, Grace.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, everybody.
So the next question we have here is a scaling feature. So 1, if you strongly disagree, and 5, if you strongly agree with the following statements. The first statement is, the region effectively supports infrastructure to help grow the food economy. The second statement is, the region is effectively planning for and investing in an inclusive, resilient, and prosperous food economy. All right, looks like we're under the 3 for both of these, at about 2.4. Looks like the infrastructure support is going up a little bit, but still under 3, which is not ideal.
So on the scaling question, last week, the answers hovered around 3 for workforce, environmental sustainability, and ag viability. This week, when we're dealing with food, nutrition, safety, security, health, and now this piece where we're all below 3. So we've got a lot of work to do. Looks like the message there.
Interested to hear from people a little bit about what's going into what they're thinking about as they're putting their scores in, or what some possible examples are. Is there anyone who would share?
I'm happy to go. This is Michael with Yolo Food Bank. I would strongly agree with both of those things if the food economy looked very different, but it looks the way it does, which is very much inadequate. So that tells me that neither one of these questions can be answered as strongly agree.
Oh, Michael, you made a comment the other day too about it. It's one thing to have policies, but are the policies implemented too? And that's why we kind of shifted off policies to actually what is happening. Are we investing in too? So yeah.
The outcomes would look very different if we had the right policies and if we were executing the right policies correctly.
Mm-hmm.
This is June Livingston. I also would say, even if everything was going very well, if there's not a general awareness of what those policies are and how they are implemented by the people who use them, then it's hard to know.
Thank you. Thank you, June. Okay, well, we've got our work cut out for us. So as we go further into the discussion, hopefully we're going to generate some ideas to move the needle on this metric here.
All right. So the next question we have here are, what are the region's strengths and assets, programs, best practices, maybe even resources that can help our food economy become more inclusive, resilient, and prosperous? And again, if you'd like to unmute to share some of those strengths verbally. Nick, I wonder if you can share some of the resources available at the state.
Yeah, definitely, I can. And I think as people are coming in here, it'll be really interesting too to see, you know, we always learn so much about great programs and partnerships that are happening on the ground. So first I'll share, you know, the Sac City Unified Food Literacy Center, UC Davis Hospital connection, and all the surrounding partners around that, like whether it's the VHC or these other places where people have come together, is definitely a best practice that we've identified in the state. We do farm to school at CDFA, and we have a farm to school incubator grant program where we've been funding schools to buy local food, invest in equipment and support, do nutrition education, and connect that food procurement to educational programs for kids. So there's $30 million proposed in the budget from the governor to continue that program and expand it and broaden it. So that's definitely one state level opportunity to leverage in this case.
Thank you, Nick. And I know that we've talked and you've helped us kind of understand the opportunities that are there. And really, we'd love to be able to broaden the school to farm to school programs across the region. So any ideas that you have for us on that as well?
Yeah, get them to apply for the grant. We're just trying to give away money, you know, please apply. So and this was going back one to the infrastructure question as well. And I think why this kind of 2.5 out of 5 is an interesting piece, because you have a new 50,000 square foot central kitchen, but then you also still have closet kitchens in some of these more rural districts where it's literally a home refrigerator, you know, full of prepackaged stuff that doesn't need to be cooked or prepared. So like there are these really shining examples, but there's still really, just like diversity of infrastructure that's available for people, especially at the school level. So we can broaden it. We'd love to do listening sessions with stakeholders if there's more schools that are interested in the region. Brenda invited us onto the Food Policy Council call for the statewide food policy network to talk to them as well. So anywhere that you want to plug us in where we can promote the funding opportunity or do a listening session to make sure that the funds are meeting people's needs, we would love to do that.
Thank you, Nick. We'd love to do that with you too and get the word out and try to really be a facilitator for that conversation. And I'm going to ask Dianna from Sac City Unified to talk about what you've done there with the program, because you've got the central kitchen now, but you've been doing local procurement for years, but it's a long time to develop this. So Dianna, maybe if you could give us a little sense of what you've done over the years and the partnerships you mentioned too.
Yeah, I was going to say something earlier and then we moved on, but you mentioned Sean Harrison, and I want to say in 2009, I worked with him on trying to open a food hub here in Sacramento. So I was happy to hear Michael here from Yolo County really working on a food hub. I think if you want to grow farm to school programs, we need to make it easier for schools. And a food hub in Yolo County, Sac County, in our local region would be a one-stop shop, and you know it's local. That's been hard to get going for some reason. I'm sure it's all about funding. And I don't know if Nick's grant would go to help support food hubs that would ultimately support farm to school. But that was one thought I had when Nick started speaking. I'm like, that money can help with food hubs.
Yeah, we funded Fiery Ginger Farm, started a food hub, the Spork Food Hub, and there's doing small scale aggregation, but hope to grow it. So yeah, it definitely funds food hubs and supports that infrastructure, but at $250,000 was the maximum award. It wasn't like, here's $5 million to scale it all at once.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, our farm to school program started with one farmer, and we purchased from one farmer, Mandarin farmer up in Penryn. And then little by little, we found another one, and we stuck with one grower for one product. And we did that on purpose because of the strict regulations around procurement. We are a federal program, and having to go out to formal bids, that would just eliminate all our farmers. They are not going to do formal bids. And we have to stay under our small purchasing thresholds. So we try to keep under the annual purchasing for a farmer for, say, pears from Cortland, Stillwater Orchards, and then our farmer up in Penryn for Mandarin. So that's how we've been able to grow our program. Same with rice. We try to keep it under those small purchase thresholds. And When we write bids for produce distributors, we tell them that we are going to procure outside of those formal bids for our farm to school program. And, you know, we're large. We have support staff here now. We didn't at first. It was a couple of us, including me, just trying to find farmers, literally Googling them. A lot of them don't have web pages. I think some of the challenges have been just, where are our farmers and who are they, and are they willing to do business with us? We struggle with that.
And Dianna, I know from your side, I mean, from the farmer side, it's not that easy to go into a procurement process either with the school district.
Right. So what we do is we try to keep it under a small purchase threshold, and we just get a quote from them. And then we have to get 2 other quotes. And if theirs is the lowest, then we can go with them. And that's the requirements that we're under. So it is difficult. I mean, there's nobody from CDE on this call, I don't think, but what we do is we get then quotes from distributors who have a markup on them. And typically that farmer is less expensive, but not always, you know, because they're small and sometimes they do charge more. So that's where we're at with that. And you mentioned something else, Trish, and I don't remember what it was that you asked me.
Well, building the capability over time, like you have a lot of food trucks, you have figured out your delivery mechanism, you've saved money, which you then can put into buying better local food, for instance.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep. That's true. We started with 2 trucks and we have 13 now. So it did grow into something far beyond, I think we could have imagined back in 2008. We had a vacant warehouse with no food in it, and we started buying our own food direct, and now we buy all our food direct. And a whole 50,000 square feet of the warehouse that supports our central kitchen and our schools. Infrastructure, we talked about infrastructure. We do have a shiny new kitchen. It's not operating yet. We're just getting ready to hire. But we have infrastructure issues at our school sites too. So that's our next project. We have to bring them up so that they can prepare the food that we've created in the kitchen to a higher quality than in the past. We need better equipment.
Thank you, Dianna. Well, those are all the things. It's like a web. It's like the same thing with the food banks that mentioned, because they have a whole huge distribution network. So what are the facilities that the partner organizations need too, like the schools? And I wanted to just ask before we go on, you know, the partnership that you and Santana are talking about, which would increase market power.
Yeah, Santana, do you want to talk about it? I don't even know how we came up with this idea, but I think we were just sharing that he has a beautiful kitchen, and now so do we. And we have an active farm to school program, and we do get great pricing because of the volume of meals we serve. And Santana started saying, hey, can I buy produce from you? And we're entertaining that idea, right, Santana?
Yeah, I hope that this actually happens, because I think this is where true change happens, right? Something that I don't think has been done before. So if we can actually procure together as a hospital and as a school district, right? A healthcare facility and a school district, actually turning the school district into a vendor, right? I mean, initially, right? This is kind of what we're looking at, is like, if this is possible, when you combine both buying powers, and they have a beautiful shiny kitchen, and I'm not even kidding, it's beautiful, with this equipment that can actually potentially provide us, our program, with the processed vegetables and produce that we would need, that we use, we can actually pass on the clean food kind of program with source transparency to patients and to our children at the same time, with a message that supports nutrition security, right? So we've often been talking about, like, by the time you get to my space, which is a hospital, you've already got a problem. If we could be proactive and preventative by say, educating our children at a younger age on, instead of it being a chicken nugget, if you will, right? Which is processed meat pressed together to whatever form dinosaur that you want to make it. And just talk about just real food and you know, an honest muscle meat, or here's a you know, in Mandarin, as Dianna had mentioned, that's, you know, grown 30 miles from you. That's empowering to the child of knowledge, and they can carry that all the way up to hopefully to create a better diet than the one I had for myself, and keep them healthy. It's all starting with this procurement of procuring together as two large entities, and us potentially providing a new revenue stream that the school district has never had before. That hopefully can go towards, again, quality of food for the children.
You say it so well, Santana.
I don't know. I don't know.
And I think that's why we really have bought into and collaborated with Food Literacy Center too, and their new Floyd Farms on our most needy school. 98% of the children there receive CalFresh benefits. And they're now going to learn about nutrition and food literacy at school. And we want to fund field trips for other schools to go there, which I could talk about or not. I don't know. I'm taking up too much time, but.
Well, it's so powerful, and you know, maybe later we can actually have another session about this. Maybe when we do something with UNIC around the farm to school opportunities, but bring all the partners in that can explore some of these joint things. I don't know if people know that Sac City Unified has prepares the largest number of meals a day in the region, and Santana's got a high percentage too. And there's just the whole nexus that Santana's working on about food for health when people leave the hospital. It's a change in mentality where you're not purchasing the cheapest, most cost effective food. It's not cost effective in the long run. How do we change that paradigm? So I hope you'll both comment as we go through the discussion, but I just want to highlight the tremendous impact you've had and the future potential for that. And then Thomas Nelson, you're going to be able to work with your farmers to get them to sell food into the school, to the new procurement policy. So, okay, Grace, you want to go on to the next question, please?
Yeah, so the strengths kind of lead into the success stories here. So if you could please share any success stories about activities, initiatives, or programs that relate to the food economy. And Thomas, I know you didn't get to speak in the last round. I don't know if you want to chime in this round.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many thoughts in my head. I mean, I think just to share with everyone that there is a food hub in Yolo County existing, Cape Valley Farm Shop, which has been around since 2007. And it has been a difficult model to really dial in, but yeah, there's 40 farms and ranches that work together to get their products to partners. And it really has focused on working with corporate food service, really became a core. That has obviously shifted with COVID. And I think there's one of the things that has opened up, I mean, a lot of the food from this area ends up flowing to the Bay Area. And there's a great interest from the farms here to really bring that closer to home and serve the Sacramento region. So excited about opportunities that are popping up actually as a result of COVID. And, you know, Michael Bish mentioned the Yolo Food Hub, but that's like a way to bring more partners together, building on some of the work that Cape Valley Farm Shop's done, that the Food Hub has done, and to really develop that processing capacity that Diana's talking about in Santana so that we can serve the needs of the region better. So excited for that. Hopefully that can come to, you know, we've got a lot of money we need to bring in to make that all happen.
Thank you, Thomas. And does anyone else want to verbally share any success stories or activities that they're seeing that they're really excited about or could be replicated throughout the region?
This is Brenda Ruiz, the Food Policy Council, wearing my hat as a instructor in CTE programs, career and technical education programs at Grant and Luther Burbank. One of the cool things in available are project-based learning at the senior level in ag and natural resources, and then the urban ag academy that is at Luther Burbank. They have to come up with a business concept and research it and figure out, how if it would make a profit or lose money, what would the marketing be, what are the inputs, what is the audience, and I think it's a great practical way for students to envision themselves as future leaders and entrepreneurs. And it just so happens to be in the food and ag space. And so at Grant High School, programs a few years older, pushing on 20 years older than the one at Luther Burbank, but it's been pretty successful. In fact, the field trip program of bringing students to a central place to get garden and nutrition education was actually ideated by a student. And then Health Education Council helped scale it up. They came up with a field trip program. How much does it cost to go to the zoo or to Fairy Tale Town or the senior trip to, Great America or wherever kids go now? And they price compared what a funding model could be to have this alternative in-district program that offered an experience. This was completely ideated by the cohort of students that then, was taken to scale by nonprofits, including myself and some and Health Education Council and Slow Food Sacramento in the district. So I think the project-based learning programs at career and technical education, because of the way it's structured, is a great asset to the region in developing the next change makers, the next idea, the newer ideas that that we're not might not have our pulse on, finger on the pulse, because the students are coming up with it and they know what the next generation of the market's going to bear. So there've been some really cool examples out there.
That's great, Brenda, and we hope that you'll share those with us. And the whole idea too of the students getting exposed to opportunities to work and create in the food and ag space is really something we're trying to promote through that workforce piece. So the importance of project-based learning, like you're mentioning, but the creativity, the ideas. I wanted to note too, Burke mentioning about the helping food trucks and other businesses. One of the things that's come up recently too is the mobile market food trucks. So it's a great opportunity to get food also into neighborhoods in need. So there's some really good things. And then the CalFresh that at the farmers markets, that's another way if we can increase the capabilities to do that. So lots of opportunity areas, I think. Grace, are you ready for the next question?
Yes, sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right. Next question here. All right. What are some emerging opportunities that could help strengthen the food system? And so, Dianna, can I have you start out this conversation? You had talked about that, similar to what Brenda talked about with the field trips, that may be coming with Sac City.
Sorry, what was your question?
So emerging opportunities.
Oh, yeah. I thought you asked a different question of me right now.
Yeah, if you could expand upon the field trip topic you talked about earlier.
Oh, well, we received a grant from No Kid Hungry, who has been a huge supporter of ours for quite some time, but especially during COVID, nonprofit No Kid Hungry, and they funded a mobile food truck for us. We're going to launch it at the Farm to Fork event. It will be used for school breakfast and school lunch at our middle and high schools with all clean ingredients, fresh food that we will prepare off-site and serve quickly at the lunch hour, because we have 30 minutes to serve 1,100 kids at Luther Burbank. So it's not made to order, but it's made that day, and great food, locally sourced. So that'll be something very exciting for our students. But at events like Farm to Fork and other events like the State Fair, we will raise money using the truck to fund field trips to Floyd Farms and to local farms. That's our plan there. Your question about emerging opportunities that could strengthen the food system for schools, I'm going to say it again, and I think Trish knows what I'm going to say. We have a USDA commodity food program where they supplement our program with foods purchased by someone in Washington, D.C. And they decide which items we can shop from for our school menus. And that is not the direction our kitchen is going anymore. And it's a lot of schools want to get out of that, but if you don't accept it, you're not going to be able to balance your revenue and your expenses. And for us, it's a little over $2 million a year, and we need the money, but we don't want the products. So I've been asking for cash in lieu of commodities, which is a program that Oakland Unified gets. The entire state of Kansas gets it, and we want it. And it's hard when you're dealing with the federal government. They don't like to change, but we do have a lot of support in Sacramento. And I brought it up at a call with CDE yesterday with all directors from the state of California on there. And I'll just keep our, on my soapbox for that. It's a program that's farly outdated. It still supports farmers. We would support local farmers, California farmers here in California, and in other states, they would support their local farmers and their state farmers. So that's my 2 cents. That's an opportunity to change the way schools are funded.
Thank you, Diana. And I just want to note that that is a platform for our food and ag policy for the Metro Chambers Cap to Cap. We're working with Diana's food nutrition specialist, Kelsey Netterveld, who's fantastic. And we're hopeful this year maybe we'll get some traction on it, but a lot of different ways to try to get that change to happen as well, because it kind of conflicts with USDA's other mission, which is to support farm to school. So let us know how we can help with that too, Diana. And I think there was an earlier comment, about just people not knowing very much about the food system, all these kinds of issues. So we're really hoping between the plan and the poll that we can, in September, also being Farm to Fork Month, really elevate some of these critical issues for our food system and opportunities. Well, we have a lot of good emerging opportunities, including potential projects. And yes, the governor's budget, there's federal money coming and state money. So we'll be trying to track that also. I know Brenda and others, CAF, are really following some of the state money as well. And Nick has been great helping us understand some of the money coming in for the food and ag space. So we'll be trying to identify those opportunities, and then as well we're tracking on some of the federal side.
There's this is Brenda from Sac Food Policy Council. I just can't believe I haven't mentioned it on the other sessions. The Growing the Table project with Kat Taylor. So we had a Sacramento pilot conclude in June, and I believe there's a commitment to do a phase 2 or a second round of that. We're not sure on the timeline yet or if the dollars have been raised, but it's a great model for purchasing from BIPOC producers and then getting it into identified communities in a curated program. It kind of is looking at the micro producers and some different types of food entrepreneurs to purchase from. So the project is growing the table with Cat Taylor, with the Office of Cat Taylor.
Thank you, Brenda. That's been a great, really multi-pronged partner program too. So thank you for raising that. And you know what you're mentioning too, pilots, a lot of stuff has happened over the last year and a half. Partnerships like the Great Plates programs and other things the food banks and other partners have done. So we really want to see things have changed and how we can build on some of those good examples. I know Blake Young mentioned that the other day too from the food bank. Might not have done some things without a pandemic, but now we've got some things, and how can we build on those?
Does anyone else want to share anything before we move on? All right. So the next question here is around funding and financing. So what are the main priorities for funding and capacity needs to help grow the region's food economy? So we heard some available funding pots, coming in from both the state and the feds. And what are those priorities? And as Trish mentioned earlier in the meeting, if we could get as specific as possible, these responses will be used to inform the food system action plan. So if we could get really specific examples or priorities, that would help us. Sam, if you're still on, are you able, or I see you are you able to share some more about CalFresh at the farmers markets?
Sure. Yeah, we have here in Sacramento and Yolo Counties, we have some of the highest engagement with CalFresh at farmers markets in the country. And so just a little bit of background for, CalFresh is SNAP, which is formerly food stamps. But because it's an electronic system, it requires at any given farmer's market, there needs to be an EBT machine, a credit card type reader set up to allow people with CalFresh to use their benefits to shop from the farmers. So this is a program that we provide at Alchemist. We're not the only people who do it in the region. Other farmers markets do it independently. But this is a program that makes farmers markets accessible to people who are low income and food insecure. It often is paired with the Market Match program, which comes from California and adds incentive dollars for for the first, say, $10 you spend at the market each week from CalFresh. So it can really double a family's grocery budget at the farmer's market. And so this is great for equitable access at the farmers markets. It also brings all these federal dollars directly into the pockets of local farmers, especially small and mid-sized farmers, as opposed to going into Walmart and going back to shareholders across the country. So it's a really effective way, and it ties back into what Trish was mentioning earlier about CalFresh enrollment rates. The higher that enrollment becomes, the more people are spending that with local farmers. It really stimulates the local food economy. So, currently there are a lot of markets that have this. They're all continuous. They have this each year because some sponsor or some grant organization writes a check for the year. But if funding priorities change, these could always disappear. So there's a real need for more stable funding, and possibly from the county or possibly more foundation support, something along those lines.
Thank you, Sam. I also wanted to ask Santana about this whole piece of institutional procurement you are leading for UC Davis Health. Do you have ideas on how we can expand the partnerships with the other hospital systems, or to see if they can go in the path that you're going for institutional procurement?
It's tough, meaning you have to have executive leadership of these programs on board. That's where it starts. I mean, I wouldn't even be here if that wasn't the goal of UC Davis Health. And then you have to have visionary leaders that reach out in different ways. And this all started with like the CEO and COO at the time reaching out to Chef Patrick Mulvaney while dining there, because who better to ask on those kind of situations than somebody that is known to be able to accomplish the said mission of a farm to fork program, right? And so anyways, it starts there, and then they have to be willing to understand or be open-minded enough to pay attention or look at a budget differently, right? We all know that a dollar is 100 pennies, 10 dimes, 20 nickels, all those things, 4 quarters, right? And budgets are real, money is real. But if you look at it from a different lens about when that money is spent, we can get creative on paying for more expensive quote unquote food now, today, to save money potentially later, right? So when we look at it from a healthcare perspective, can I get $1.50 more per plate? And we are at, quantify that up at our 629 bed capacity that we have, times 3 meals a day, and all these other things, times, the staff that we feed and everything else. These are large numbers, right? They equate to large numbers, but in the end, when you think down in the future, can eating better reduce the patient readmission? So there's a big dollar amount to readmission fees, right? As anybody could imagine. So, and when you start quantifying those up, you're like, wait a minute, does that $1.50 now on this plate, is it worth it? Right? So there is a hedge, a gamble, if you will, and you have to think logically enough. Is this even possible? And have that vision. And so that's where it starts with the executive leadership. There is a hedge on that. And although the data is not out there, the case studies aren't, say, right there for whatever reason right now. We're trying to work on that with research and data recovery to create those case studies to prove definitively, if that's even possible. And I got to be careful on that, right? But it's like, does a cleaner diet really keep you, or does it yield a healthier lifestyle? Does that keep you out of out of the hospital, right? We think it does, right? You could think logically and say, yeah, sure, if I'm not eating a bunch of processed things, and when I mean processed is like, because anything when you cut a carrot, that's processed now, but I'm talking about additives, preservatives, stabilizers that aren't necessarily needed. They're not necessary for your diet. They're just making something shelf stable. In this case, we're talking about food. And so you just have to look at that. And what we've been doing is looking at community benefit. What are things that maybe doesn't equate to $1? So again, we're looking at future things that maybe equate to $1 to offset costs, but what are things that are not necessarily tangible? Community benefit is kind of tangible, but at the moment you can't say like, hey, we provide a community benefit, and that's what equates to, when you tie in that more expensive patient meal, we're trying to say we're supporting our community, by saying, okay, $1 spent within the community, and where that, say, Mandarin comes from, just like Diana's program of the Mandarin coming from Penryn, that money spent within our community is kept within our community. So that argument is like community benefit. That's the other side that we say, to try to have the community support what we're trying to do. I don't know if I made sense there, Trish. My mind's kind of racing on this one.
No, you totally made sense. And I think yesterday we talked a little bit with your colleague about, we're making assertions here that eating local and fresh produce and everything is healthier, and that they do produce better health outcomes, and that's important for lots of different dimensions. But so we do need that research, but you're talking about very practical things. How do we make this happen? Years ago, on the original food system plan, we convened the hospitals and to talk about this with Healthcare Without Harm, and we didn't get very far because there sort of wasn't the leadership. The procurement sides of the hospitals were more into what things cost rather than these other kind of benefits, and the role of hospitals as anchor institutions and leaders in the region, and the modeling around the procurement, which supports the economy in other ways, as well as health for patients and workers. So
I don't know. Trish, hi, this is June. One of the things I would say to that, and I'm not really answering this question as June from Burke, but June as a citizen, one of the things that I personally have invested in is, over the years, we have functional medicine doctors, and I have one. And functional medicine doctors believe that that's how you first get your health, is through your food. And I was just wondering if maybe some of them have some statistics that may help. I don't know how many there are in this region. I know of one, at least. So I don't know if that helps, or if I could be of benefit personally that way.
thank you, June. That's a great suggestion. And I think those are strands we need to explore, definitely. Because Santana's, you're trying to make the case in your own system of why these investments matter, and you know, but we want to diffuse these across the region because there's a huge economic and other impact to those. And the back function of that is then it creates the jobs and the support services to get, again, these foods to market, not just for the schools, but the hospitals and other institutions. So.
Yeah, we're just to add on to that, we're grasping and trying to use any possible way to offset dollars, meaning if I can pull on sustainability, right? I'm going to pull on sustainability. I'm going to pull on climate change. I'm going to pull on marketing. I'm going to pull on community benefit. And if you use all those, you know, it's like, can I add that and figure out $1.50 somewhere that I can add to a meal per meal period, right? It's just getting creative.
I was going to say also too, I know for us, now I'm putting my Burke hat back on. You probably heard from one of my colleagues that participated on Chase Strimstoffer, and Burke has a sustainable business program where we voluntarily certify businesses that adopt environmentally friendly practices in all different areas. It's free. The certification is free. And so there's a lot can be done there. We're actually looking for nominations currently. And so if your business, any organization, it doesn't have to be a business, it can be a nonprofit. And one of the benefits is to share best practices with folks. And so that is why we do it. Burke has funding partners, 9 funding partners. So we're sort of a little different animal than most county agencies. So I just throw that out there as a way, because you can self-nominate. This year, we're going to do a virtual award ceremony. SMUD is one of the backers. They're a funding partner of Burke. So if that could help any of you and you're interested, please let me know, because that I can do. We have a website. We highlight different programs. We did a lot during COVID, working with agencies, try to get information up locally about what funding sources were available to businesses and all different areas. So those are some of the other things that we do as well.
June, thank you so much. We've had the privilege to participate in the awards program in the past, and we'd love to get more information out. And it's really a great program. And thank you for all you've done to support businesses to become more sustainable and acknowledge and validate them too. So, and show the path of how to do it. So thank you, June.
You're welcome.
Great. Well, we're getting to the time. It's 4:33. Does anybody, or people starting to drop off? So we want to thank everybody again for, you know, the great conversation. Evan had to drop off, but she said she wanted to say that she was inspired by the passion, work, and knowledge present in the session. And so we affirm that and look forward to being in touch with you. Does anybody have any closing comments or remarks they want to make before we close the event? Our contact information is here. Grace is going to be sending out a follow-up survey. And we invite, continued participation. We'll get the notes back. Actually, Grace, are the videos are up on the website now from the last sessions?
Yeah, they're up on our YouTube now, and they'll be up on the website later today.
Okay. Well, we want to thank the Community Foundation again for all their support and partnership. And these sessions have been inspiring. There's so much commitment and great partners and leaders in our region that are really trying to change things for the better. So we feel very privileged to have the opportunity to convene these meetings and work on your behalf. So Kate is thanking everyone too, and we will get back to everybody with the next steps. So with that, I think we'll close out the week. Thank you, everybody. Take care and be well.